Thank you for listening to another episode of Coding Talks podcast. Those of you who are new to this podcast, I encourage you to check my video version YouTube channel as well. There is a channel called Coding Talks with Vishnu, which is available on YouTube. Those have the same topics in video format, so that will provide you more understanding, a bit more demo based understanding if you want to listen to that as well. So feel free. And this is a series of episodes that are related to GCP that we were ongoing. Last episode we talked about an understanding of what this GCP is all about. We understand a bit about cloud computing, and we also understand some of the use cases of this compute engine, which is a service, virtual machine service that is provided by GCP. So feel free to listen that episode as well if you are new to Google Cloud. So now today we are discussing about the cloud storage, which is an object storage that is provided by Google Cloud. So object storage is very important in your application development, because every application, let's take a simple case of a website where you have the need for storing your files that are part of that particular website. I mean not the files that are used for displaying that particular website. What I mean is like the actual user data or some kind of files that user is uploading. Maybe it can be an audio file, video file, or some sort of document like a PDF, or in some cases it can be an image file. And in case of the websites like Spotify, which is an online streaming platform, it can be an audio, a massive content of audio files as well. So according to the requirements of application, different file types will be stored, and object storage is a good area for storing such kind of different files. And the Google Cloud provides the cloud storage as a kind of a globally unified service. And it is also highly scalable, means your application can use that particular cloud object storage called the cloud storage without bothering about how much capacity you want to use or etc. It will automatically scale up as required. And in addition to that, there are a lot of other features that are also provided by cloud storage, which we will look in this particular episode. So this is entirely focused on cloud storage. So to create a cloud storage, first of all, you need to have a Google account. I already explained that in the earlier episode. So once you have a Google GCP account, which you can have for free, and up to 12 months Google offers a kind of a set of free services. And this cloud storage is also provided as part of that, which is relatively cheap. It is one of the cheapest service out there. And you can have that to store any kind of files you want. To get a familiarity, just log into Google Cloud, and you can search on cloud storage, or you can navigate the menu and directly go to cloud storage. Whatever way you prefer, you can choose that. So the first step is to create a bucket. So the bucket is the actual container you can have for the cloud storage. So create a bucket. And once you create a bucket, you can have different folders inside the bucket as well. Like you can create a folder for the HR files or finance file, or whatever your requirements of your particular organization requirements, you can create that as well. And for your application needs also, you can create different folders or different structures inside that particular bucket as well. So this is fairly simple to understand. Like you create a bucket, you can have multiple folders, subfolders inside that if you want, and you can store whatever type of files you want, be it an image, be it an PDF file, or whatever file, you can store that as well. This is relatively easy to understand. So that is how the cloud storage works. So your application will be using that particular cloud storage files, and your application will be writing files to this bucket as well. So the next step in understanding is like how you provide authentication and particular access restrictions to this particular bucket based on your application needs. Sometimes your application may be contacting with your bucket for some reason, and you want to ensure that only a particular user should be able to access that particular bucket or something. So you can set access restrictions as well using the Google IAM or Identity and Access Management. So you can create users there, you can create roles there, and in case if there is a massive set of users for your organization, you can associate that to your Active Directory account as well, so that can be connected as well. And you can create groups, you can create roles. So roles is another important thing which you need to be aware at this stage. Like in the earlier episode, we have talked about the Google Compute instances where a compute engine or a virtual machine can be made. So this cloud storage is an area of or a service which is provided by Google for storing your application files. And let's take a case where your VM wants to write something or store something to this particular cloud storage. You can easily have that. You can easily call that particular application. You can particularly spin up an application inside that particular VM, and that application can of course contact your cloud storage like whatever way you want. But in addition to that, you can also set different roles and permissions as well, so that based on roles that particular VM can contact your particular object storage or cloud storage, and it provides an additional layer of security on top of that. Then from your application side, like you are having an application which can be in .NET or Node.js, or it can be in Python. So different set of SDKs are also provided by Google Cloud. So once you have that SDKs in place, you can easily connect using that SDK. SDKs are kind of a simple development kit programs that are already developed by someone else, and you can use that for your application needs. In .NET, you usually add that in forms of NuGet packages. So you can search for Google Cloud Storage, and an associated Cloud Storage NuGet package will be, you can view there. You can install that in your application by simple click inside that Manage NuGet Packages window. And once that is installed, you can have a set of codes that you have to write, which is also you get from the documentation. So you need some familiarity with using that particular SDK documentation, and once you have an understanding of that, your application can easily connect to this particular cloud storage using the access key. So the access key and all you can get from the cloud portal, this Google Cloud portal as well. So use a NuGet or an NPM based on your particular language you choose for development, and you install that package, and once you install that package, you add some lines according to that specific SDK which you have chosen. So the documentation provides all those examples as well, and you have to authenticate your particular application access to this cloud storage using that access key, and that can access your particular cloud storage. And you can manipulate the cloud storage. Manipulate in the sense you can read from the cloud storage. Your application can read from the cloud storage. It can update something or edit something, and whatever way it can directly do. And this is how as an application flow will looks like. We can look into some other use cases of this cloud storage as well. It can be used for a repository for kind of an analytics and machine learning purpose. You have a set of VMs which will do the analysis or some kind of activities or compute activities, and you want to store that results into an object storage for later consumption. You can have that. And in case if you have some set of services that you are using from Google Cloud as well, there are a set of services that Google Cloud provides particularly for storage and particularly for big data, machine learning and other purpose, you can use that particular service, and the output of that services you can store that inside the cloud storage as well, so that some other component of your application can use that. So that is one another area. Then the one thing which we just discussed, like the contents that are related to our website or our application. If you want an area for storage, you can use the cloud storage as well. It can be related to something like a mobile app or a website where you have some files that your customers are uploading. You want to do some processing for that, and you want to store that securely in some place, then cloud storage is definitely suitable for that purpose. Then backup case, that is also another use case where cloud storage really shines. It provides a fast and a low cost or highly durable storage for data that is not accessing frequently. So you can set these different storage classes. Storage classes is a way by which you can manage your data within, manage your objects inside the cloud storage. So if your application is not using some of the files that are inside the cloud storage, you can move that to a different storage class. So those classes we will discuss in a moment. So that the advantage of using those classes is like those classes, if you move that to some of the backup classes, that will be fairly cheap, and there is no storage cost, there is not that much of storage cost that is associated with those particular classes as that of a standard default one. But there will be a charge for retrieving the data, but you won't need to retrieve that data often as well. So you can move, of course, that that archive type of data to such classes. So that is another advantage with this cloud storage. So this is not possible with your in-premise or on-premise infrastructure. If you set like some kind of storage, so the cloud storage is much more than that of a normal file storage. And this is an object storage, it also provides some of the lifecycle management mechanisms as well. That means you can delete the data after a particular point of time to save space, or you can move that to a different storage classes like I mentioned before. And another thing is like versioning. That is also interesting aspect. Like if you have a copy of your file stored in cloud storage, and if you enable version, that will consume a bit of extra cost, like extra storage cost, like you will need the different versions to have in your storage bucket. But the advantage it provides is like you can have different versions, which sometimes you may be required for tracing purpose in your application. So you can have that as well. Then different companies have different policies, like their compliance requirements, like a certain set of files should be kept there for a certain period of time, and then that should be deleted. So there is a set of retention policies out there. So that is also important, which is part of the compliance requirements. So Google Cloud Storage provides that facility as well, where you can set the minimum retention periods. So if you set that, only the admin will be able to change that, and no one else, even our application, won't be able to change that. So the files will be remain there as it is, and that won't be able to delete. That is another facility which is provided by the cloud storage retention policy. Then similar to this retention policy, there is a facility called object holds that is also similar. Like it can hold the data and hold the objects, and you won't be able to delete those particular objects until that is explicitly mentioned. Regarding compliance, there is another criteria which is important, is the safety of data. You are actually storing your customers' files, which can be whatever data it can be. Sometimes it can be of extremely high sensitive nature. Sometimes it can be a simple media file, but whatever that is there, your organization should ideally have a compliance requirement for keeping your data safe. So you can encrypt your data as well in cloud storage. By default, it will be encrypted with a key automatically. So you don't have to specify anything. And that will be encrypted with a key that is provided by Google Cloud, and that will be managed by Google Cloud itself. So that is a transparent process which is happening behind the scene. So whenever you are saving something to object storage or the cloud storage, Google behind the scene will automatically encrypt that data and store. And whenever you are requesting that particular object from the cloud storage, Google will decrypt the data and given you back. So it's a kind of a server-side encryption. So once you create a bucket, you can have all these informations from within that bucket configuration panel, where you can view all these different details. So you can change that whenever you want to change that as well. So by now you understand that this cloud storage is much more than what we imagined. It is not just a simple storage. It provides additional facilities like that which I just explained. So encryption is one important factor. And encryption also you can customize, like you can have your own key for encryption as well. And you can store that key in a key management service within the Google as well. But that is a bit advanced. Some specific application scenarios that may be a requirement, like your application or an organization wants to have your own key for encrypting the data. So that is also provided. So that is part of compliance requirement. But basically, if you create a bucket, it have its own encryption by default. In addition to that, if you want to have your files encrypted, before even sending from your application, you can have a client-side encryption as well. That is up to your application requirements. Then the permissions which we discussed already, like this cloud storage can easily integrate with the Google Cloud Identity and Access Management, which is another service from Google Cloud. So you can create different users and you can restrict the access to whoever should be access to whatever buckets and objects you want. So you can set your permission at the bucket level as well as at the object level. So you can have the buckets and different objects inside that, and you can set permissions explicitly to a different object as well. Then the another important thing is, like in an organization, someone wants to manage or monitor all the different activities that is happening in your cloud storage. So different applications may be accessing the different files or different objects from your cloud storage, and there must be a monitoring mechanism in place. So you can have that by having the cloud audit logs, and you can check that as well. So you can have maintain an admin activity logs and a data access log for all your cloud storage requirements. Then there is another service which is not a part of cloud storage, which is called the PubSub, which provides a method for it's kind of a messaging service where you can create a you can create a topic, and then you can subscribe to that topic. So whenever a topic is created, a new item is added, then that particular will trigger a notification to all those who have subscribed to it, and your application can take necessary actions based on that. So it's a way of decoupling the different components. So one component can interact to other component in an asynchronous way through the PubSub mechanism. So this cloud storage is also can be connected to the PubSub notification, so that whenever an item is added or an object is added, created, updated or deleted, you can create the pub-sub notification, so the different other related applications that are depending on this particular subscription notification gets triggered, and that can take necessary actions. So these are some of the different things which we discussed related to the cloud storage. So next we can look into some of the storage classes that we can have with the cloud storage. So whenever we create a new cloud storage and we create a bucket, or when we upload some file, it is usually stored as a kind of a standard or a kind of a frequent data access model. So the peculiarity here is like you can access your file anytime you want, but the storage cost is bit higher. So if you have a requirement like you don't want your application to read that a particular file frequently, then you can move that particular data to a different class called the nearline. So nearline is comparatively low storage cost, and it is suitable for infrequently accessing data. And if you have further infrequent data, like you access that data once in a quarter, you can further move that down to cold line, which is much lower cost, but there will be a retrieval charge associated with the cold line. So you can have that retrieval charge, but that will be a situation where you don't want to frequently access the data. But in case if you want to access that particular data, you are okay to pay a small retrieval charge. In that case, storage cost will be much cheaper, but there will be a retrieval charge, which is fine for your budget requirements. Then there is a further backup class as well called the archive class, which is a kind of a backup and disaster recovery class, which is provided by the Google Cloud. So if that can be used for backup and retrieval purpose. So that is a kind of a bit advanced type of class. So in addition to that, you can set a lifecycle management as well. So move these to different standards or nearline. Like you can set a particular periods, like after 30 days you can move that to nearline or cold line, or after 90 days you can move your data objects to archive. And all those flexibilities are there, that is provided by the cloud storage. So that is all about the cloud storage. Next we will look into some of the database services, relational database services that are offered by GCP, and we can check out in another episode. So thank you again for listening this session. Have a nice day.